It's been over a year since we tried the craziest idea on earth. Take my family dog who loves to nap, thinks spring mix is a treat, is kind of gloriously uncoordinated sometimes and other times is pretty athletic, and train him for duck season by a guy who's never hunted before. Literally, when I started this journey, I had no idea what I was doing. And while I've had a lot of laughs along the way, I've never really truly realized the wild juxtaposition that ended up flipping around. Riggins, who yes, at home was really goofy, turned out to be naturally talented, almost at ease, full of joy just to get out there on the duck ponds, kind of present in the moment. In contrast to me, who is a striver, an all-nighter, a pusher, a shover, a little bit of a try-hard, and I was the one holding him back. I was the bad shot that couldn't knock down a bird, while Riggins was watching the sky and watching where the birds were coming from, all of which makes opening day really hard. Pressure. Pressure.
Yeah.
Lots of pressure. Did I scout enough? Did I train Riggins enough? Did we spend too much of our time in the backyard and not enough on the water? Was it just enough? Did I practice clays enough? Have I gotten good enough to knock down a bird? Did I actually do targets in practice that actually replicate ducks, like specifically wood ducks? And as that pressure builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, suddenly, weirdly, I'm back at Ole Miss in my mind. It's a long story, but I grew up dreaming about Ole Miss football, which is pretty weird for a kid who grew up in Alabama. There was only two schools, Alabama and Auburn, and I always thought about Ole Miss. But growing up, I was actually pretty pudgy and deeply unathletic. Until 9th grade when I taught myself how to wail on a football. I joined the team, lost weight, got better, and by my 12th grade year, I got a call from Hugh Freeze. There was a spot on the roster for me. But before this all sounds heroic or anything crazy, I need to be honest, I was a kicker. Do not look like an SEC football player. And that's what no one really talks about. Yes, in addition to being one of the most pressured positions in SEC football, you're kind of an odd man on the football team. You're literally like a golfer who's been placed on a team. A receiver who drops a pass, there's another down. A lineman who misses a block, well. But a miss for a kicker, that's just downright unforgivable. And I learned this the fast and hard way when I got death threats via Facebook when I was a high school football player. But if I'm seeing clearly, that pressure, that ostracization, that weird odd man out from being on a football team, it actually kind of refines you. It toughens you and makes you realize of what actually was at stake. And just kind of like I learned at Ole Miss, with a quick exhale, that pressure fades away. Prepping for this season was information overload. Alabama is simultaneously chock full of places to look at, but not chock full of places that are legal to hunt. We have good public land, but it's typically geared towards deer hunters, not really folks chasing after waterfowl. And so there's this kind of ping pong match of how far do we want to send it on opening day, and how hard do we need to bust it, and what are new places we need to go to? Do we need to travel out of state? And this is where Kyle, who's been a friend and honestly a guide through all this, he kind of calmed it all down and said, look, let's keep it simple and let's go back to old spots. But Alabama was in a drought. So despite our best geoscouting, no map could predict what a tiny cypress swamp or duck pond in Alabama would look like after months without rain. With all the mounting pressure and all the stress ready for opening day, it's a blank. Actually, the first 3 hunts of the season are blanks. And if you do a lot of public land hunting, this should stress you out, because this is when the birds have been the least harassed at the beginning of the season. We couldn't find water. And so that pressure comes back. It's almost like what I experienced in football. The longer you go without an attempt, the more pressure the next one's going to have, because you know it means more. So hunt 4, no birds. Hunt 5, no birds. Every time you know the next hunt is more important. Your best opportunities are slipping away. If anything, it feels like the 3rd and 4th quarter and the game's about to slip away. And so it settles into another rhythm of pounding away at public land ducks. We start to see a couple wood ducks here and there, but they just aren't flying within reasonable shots. Because I'm hyperextended on time, I'm mixing in new guys who are going hunting with me, and we're trying something new at every turn. Trying to stack odds in my favor, I actually pick up a wood duck call, start to learn that every time I'm in the car, trying to really pick out what a sitting hen looks like versus a calling male, and of course trying my best to never sound like a flying bird. And it all kind of falls away because I realize I'm trying too much. Trying to capture these moments with Riggins, run a couple of decoys with lots of movement on the water while calling, while again remembering that I'm not a great shot. And so I try to simplify and settle and go to a place that was really good for Kyle and I last year. And that pressure is still building. Knowing that if I get a shot, that may be the only one for a while. There's just not a lot of wood ducks flying right now.
If you're excited about crows.
And sure enough, I got what I was looking for. Two wood ducks start to come in to a wide lagoon that I had scouted. They come over my right shoulder, so I know I've got to pan a little bit to the left. And at the last second, they nudge their wings to the left and make a dart for the decoys I have in the water. I drop the jerk string, place the gun up, fire once, fire twice, and there it is again. Missed. It's hard to describe that pit in my stomach. As Riggins and I jumped in the car alone and drove back 2 hours to Birmingham. It's sadly a feeling I know well. When you fail, you've worked really hard and you blew it. That's where this parallel to football comes swinging back. If there's ever a superpower of those guys who play special teams, it's the art of forgetfulness. Literally forgetting the bad crap that just happened and refocusing on the target at hand. It's not easy. Never is. But because the nature of the sport is that you fail a lot. It's really the only way you get better. And so we bounce back. It's almost like there's some freedom in failure. You've gotten the bad stuff out of the way. The only way is up. And that's how I felt, not driving home that day, but when I rallied the next day and said, we're going to make this happen. Riggins and I were going every morning until we figured it out. As Riggins and I shuffled down the mountain to get to this wooded pond, there was a lot to like about it. There was marshy grass at the head of it, a nice thick beaver dam at the bottom of it, plenty of room to see birds. As day broke and I got the decoys out, we were greeted by not ducks, but hundreds of crows. Literally to a point of annoyance where I thought about firing a shot across the pond just to scare them off. But then it hit me. If public land ducks are a little weary of duck calls, I had a little bit of sonic cover. I don't know if that's a real thing, but in my head it sounded right. So I start hammering at this wood duck call. I am just hammering a hen call because my thought is that you have this blanket of sound from the crows, and the only way wood ducks will hear is if I hammer through that just racket. I call and I call and I call, and sometimes I break the reed and it sounds bad, and other times, hey, it sounds like exactly what I've heard in recordings. Finally the crows push off, and it's just silent. Then there they are, flying directly at me. The pressure goes straight to my chest. They're coming faster, 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 directly at me. I pull the jerk string, give one little call, I pick up the gun. And while I was really bent on letting the birds land, something I hadn't been good at all season, I noticed quickly that they're pulling up, they're not gonna land. And so that pressure, it's in between my ears now, pounding. Miss. Second shot. Miss. But for a half second, the bird seemed surprised, which buys me just enough time to fire off a third shot. The bird, it drops.
Bring it back, Rich. Bring it back. Bring it back.
But as Riggins runs over, worst case scenario happens. Above the tree line, I see the bird pop back up and fly off. And as that sinking, I'm ready to throw up feeling starts to set in, one of the birds from before has been circling. It actually passes by my right side and lands along the beaver dam. With really poor instincts, I fire a Hail Mary shot across the pond. Dumb. Really dumb idea. But then it gets up, and it's looking for the other birds. Surely, and unbelievably, it takes another spin. Flies a lap around the pond. Embarrassingly, I don't know what to do, because is this bird gonna land or is it gonna fly off? And this is this exasperating feeling I had when I played football. Like, what am I doing wrong? I blow the call again, it takes another lap around me. Okay, here comes another attempt. Fire a shot. Miss. Finally, I let out 2 calls to see if it'll finally just land, and it doesn't. And right as it makes one more pass, I fire a shot. Another miss. As I go to reload, I see the bird hop the tree line and move on to another pond. And in that still silence of completely shanking every attempt I had, I kind of felt myself implode a little bit. I knew that was the best shot I had gotten in duck hunting over the past 2 seasons. I knew that Riggins was watching the whole thing, and that was going to be his bird. I knew that if anyone was with me who was half decent with a shotgun, they would have knocked it down. But I didn't have it. And so as Riggins swam laps around the pond and started to goof off in the grass behind me, kind of just let him play. I didn't know, would I see another bird? Would there be another attempt? Did I even want to go duck hunting ever again? Stiffen my chin and move the decoys around and pretend that I'll be ready for the next shot. In the background, Riggins had been running around on the marsh grass acting like a complete fool. I mean, it's on brand for him. Jumping over this marsh grass puff and jumping over this one, he kind of looked like a drunken gazelle. It was honestly pretty funny to watch. But as I got everything set back up, I needed him to be quiet so that we could be ready if there was ever going to be another bird again. So I said, Riggins, come back. And he kind of looked at me and started jumping around again. And I kind of got annoyed. I was like, man, we've got to focus at the task at hand. And he kind of skitters off into the marsh grass, almost like a disobedient toddler wanting to play. I looked back at the horizon and I said, you know, well, at least he's quiet. A couple minutes later, he starts to growl, which is not something he does often. And I look back and I don't see him, and I look back at the horizon, hope the ducks aren't coming, and then I hear him kind of making a commotion again. Okay, he's found a possum or, goodness, a deer. And so I load the gun and walk over to him. And as I walk over, his very goofy self runs up, slithers through one of the marsh tunnels, and gives me a big, goofy, Riggins smile. I was like, what are you doing, buddy? And he runs off. I was like, Riggins, come back. Like, what are you barking at? And he gives me this look, which I hadn't seen before. And so in our very bad training, I remember what I taught him for retrieving. Bring it back. And it clicked. He sprints off into the marsh grass, bounce, bounce, bounce over all this marsh grass, and comes sprinting back.
Riggins, come. 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 Rick. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back.
And right when he turns the corner, I see it. A drake. Beautiful, full plumage wood duck drake. It had turned out that I had knocked down that first bird. My mind had misinterpreted the one that was circling as the bird that had flown off.
Bring it back. All the way, all the way. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
I had made the shot the whole time. And apparently Riggins knew it was there the whole time. He just didn't think I was interested in it. In that moment, I saw something wonderful. Riggins was proud of himself. There was a smile behind that big Labrador face. He knew that was what we were there to do. He was there to retrieve a duck. I was there to hunt the duck. Just turns out I was a little scattered. And that's the crazy part of feeling all that pressure. All that pent up, do we have what it takes? All those cinder blocks on our shoulders and really on my head. In a moment, they were gone. There he was, a family dog who had made the full switch from couches to duck ponds, from snoozing to hunting, from waiting to retrieving. And as I stared out on the duck pond, I couldn't help but feel all worked up. There was so much in one moment where I was legitimately thinking about giving up duck hunting forever because I couldn't turn a dang corner. Riggins was out playing. Where I was literally having a gut-wrenching reaction to what felt like a do-over from my playing days. Riggins was excited for the next turn. And when I was the one who had given up all hope, Riggins was the one who dug deep and found some.